this evening, but during the night there will be a mix of heavy showers and clear periods. Lowest temperatures 11 to 13 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Yeah, welcome along to the Football Show. We have a fresh cast for you this evening. We're going to be joined by Andy Mitten very shortly, editor of United We Stand, followed by Dermot Corrigan to talk all things La Liga. In particular, trouble for Valverde at Barcelona. Kevin Kilbane has his feet up this evening. Pat Nevin is in transit. We'll be joined by both tomorrow, fear not. So that is the plan. The latest from Oriel Park. They're into the final 2-3 minutes there now. It is Dundalk looking for a fifth title in 6 years. 3, Shamrock Rovers 2. A win for Dundalk gets the job done. They went in 2-0 up at the break. Sean Hoare header after 28 minutes, followed by a Robbie Benson goal on the stroke of half-time. Put them up 2-0, and then 55 minutes. Aaron Green pulled it back to 2-1 for Rovers. Michael Duffy with a super goal, cutting in off the left-hand side, just drilled one into the top corner on the hour mark. That made it 3-1 Dundalk, and then on 65 minutes, 5 minutes later, Aaron McAneff made it 3-2, just to keep Dundalk on their feet. Rovers have just had a decent shout for a handball penalty, which was not given, so Dundalk survived that scare. They're into the final 2 minutes and they lead 3-2. We will obviously keep you updated once the full-time whistle goes. Now, to kick things off elsewhere, Manchester United beaten 2-0 by West Ham. A pretty pedestrian performance, to say the least, from Manchester United. In a moment, we'll be joined by Andy Mitten, editor of United We Stand, for his thoughts. First, though, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in his post-match press conference.
We didn't create enough chances, but we created big chances, some big moments that we didn't take, and they scored on their... They didn't create too many either. It's a game that could have gone both ways, and when you got Rashford and Dan James, I don't think pace is the problem. It's a good group to work with. They're determined. This is not... Sometimes along the road you're going to hit some bumps, as we've said, some highs and lows. This group was out there determined. They showed the desire. We want to get out. It was a good atmosphere in the dressing room, and they've got the focus right. This group is they want to do what we're trying to do. We're working in training, of course. As I said, there's key moments in games that can tip these games in our favour. Compared to theirs, and you make maybe a bad decision on a pass, left, right, centre, but the attitude and desire is there. That's not the problem. It's the quality when we in our decision making, and sometimes in the in the quality execution. That's the word. So my Norwegian English isn't the best at times.
There we are, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Andy Mitten is editor of United We Stand. He's on the line now. Evening, Andy.
Good evening.
Solskjaer, in fairness to him, there is reasonably calm. He's not losing his head in any great way. Is that in general keeping with how he dealt with the defeat yesterday?
Yeah, he speaks quite well, whether win or lose, but it doesn't reflect the mood among United fans after a pretty awful performance. Another one at West Ham, the third one in successive seasons. The 3-1 defeat last season probably saw Jose Mourinho lose 10% of the support. The season before was a dreadful 0-0 game, and I don't think United fans were too optimistic about beating a good West Ham team ahead of the game yesterday. Probably weren't against Leicester the week before, but while they scraped to win against Leicester, they were well beaten by West Ham. And I've written a lot about a fragile confidence because there's definitely quality issues there. There are injuries as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
but there are quality issues there, and there's been this fragile confidence, and it takes baby steps. It builds up a little bit, and then they lose a game, as they did against Palace, as they did against West Ham, and it comes crashing in. And this Manchester United soap opera, a lot of people love to watch it, especially when United lose matches as well. You get this big cloud enveloping the mood when they've lost a game. It used to be when they drew a game, but expectations have dropped away in the last couple of years. The bottom line is it's just not good enough. Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. They shouldn't be 8th in the table. And Yes, Tottenham, they've also got 8 points. I think Chelsea has as well. And Wolves, who people were saying could go past Manchester United, they've not won a game all season. It could be much worse, but fans will always look closer to home where it matters most. And this team has been unconvincing so far. I don't think anyone expected the team to even challenge for the title, but they need to see some positives. And they have come. The free signings have been decent signings, which Ole Gunnar made. The youth system is much improved on 4 years ago, certainly since I wrote a piece in 2015 highlighting the shortcomings. But you can build for the future, but you still need results in the present. And this is the worst start to the season since David Moyes and Louis van Gaal both got 8 points from the first 6 matches. But after those 6 games, Moyes' team won 4 and drew 1 of the next 5 games. I can't see this Manchester United team winning 4 and drawing 1 of the next 5 games. People talk about finishing 4th. To finish 4th, you've still got to go on some good runs. You've still got to beat good teams. And I'm not convinced that this United team can do it, especially when they keep picking up injuries. So it's a worrying time. There has been a lot of knee-jerk reactions around, as there is with any Manchester United defeat, but a lot of the worries are well-founded.
Andy, what jumped out at you as the most worrying aspects of the performance on Sunday?
That West Ham probably had better players than Manchester United. Ole Gunnar talked about the lack of execution before goals, before a lack of goals. They're not creating the chances either. I know there were a couple of chances yesterday, but United had scored 1 goal in each of the previous 5 matches. I think they've scored 16 in their last 17 games. It's nowhere near good enough. Okay, Martial's injured. Mason Greenwood's good prospect. He wasn't able to play. Marcus Rashford doesn't look like a number. He doesn't look like a Manchester United centre forward. And I know he's got talents. I know he's got pace. I know he stretches teams. I know that Pep Guardiola will take him above every Manchester United player, and he knows a lot more about football than I do. I know that Barcelona were watching him because I wrote the story, and they know how to do the jobs. But if you play up front for Manchester United, you've got to score goals, and he's not scoring anything like it, as many goals as he needs to. He's still young. He's scored some great goals. He's provided the best moment of this calendar year for Manchester United with that penalty in Paris. But when the team are losing to West Ham, and they deserve to lose to West Ham, and when the team are 8, at the start of the season, there are statistical anomalies, but the way it's looking at the moment, this team looks like they're going to be 8th after 20 matches. And that's just not good enough for a club. You've got the second highest wage bill in world football. Something's going badly wrong here. Now, what's going wrong? The recruitment has been poor in the last 6 years. They are trying to right some of the wrongs. I actually like what Ole Gunnar is doing. I will be patient with him. I will support him. He needs support. If he can bring another 3 good players and in the next transfer window, then we should see significant improvements. But he still needs to be getting results in the short term, because every time they don't, it'll kick off as it has done.
Yeah, it's difficult on a whole host of fronts. As you said, this is not just a new problem. It's 6 years of poor management at a higher level. If you look at the form, The Guardian teased it out and it crystallised it very nicely. So since that PSG win, it's been 5 wins, 4 draws, 10 defeats in all competitions. And if you just take Premier League form, then going back to that PSG win, Premier League form, it's 1-4, draw 4, lost 7, or 16 points from 15. They say transpose that across a 38-game season and it makes 40.5 points, which is close to relegation form. I mean, things really have evaporated since that PSG night, really. You often have a sense of how things are behind closed doors in so much as anyone can. What's the feeling on Solskjaer amongst the squad?
He's still popular. He's a popular, hard-working, decent human being who's not spreading poison around. I saw that stat. I wrote that stat myself soon after the game yesterday.
Right. Because
I've been at these matches, and a lot of them have not been pretty. The end of the season was terrible. It was as bad as PSG away was good. And it is relegation form if you take the form from the 6th of March, although it was title winning form if you take the form from at the start of the year. Ole Gunnar's popular. He's got a good coaching staff around him, and There's a belief that he knows what he's doing. He needs to be supported. He's under a lot of pressure, as anybody would be. It's a huge job for any individual person, and he tries to share the load. Got good people around him with Kieran McKenna, Michael Carrick, Mike Phelan. He's amenable with the media. He can be ponderous sometimes with the media, but I think he's a straight person. He answers questions. I don't think he's not built up a bank of credit where he can start manipulating media. I think he's just got to play a straight bat at the moment and speak well of players who he needs to be on side, because this is a United squad which, if anything, is lacking. He can't start alienating his players. He's strong behind closed doors when he needs to be. He's not a soft touch by any stretch. He was brought in and asked to lift the mood, and he certainly did that. But it all boils down to results. You've got to win football matches. It's that simple. And when you don't win football matches, this negative lens goes over absolutely everything. So if you're Jesse Lingard in your South Beach hotel and you're jumping around saying beans, 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 you just won the European Cup, there's no issue there. But if you're doing it when most Manchester United fans are fuming because of the terrible way that the season's finished, you're just doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. And Ole Gunnar gets that. He tells his players. He talks of the importance of being a Manchester United player. Mike Phelan does exactly the same thing. And there probably is a lack of leaders in that dressing room. If you look at the characters they had there in 2013, they didn't always get on. They'd fight with each other. The stuff which never got into the papers would be headline news. But you had really strong personalities, totally different from different backgrounds. Vidic, Evra, Giggs, Rooney, loads of them, 8 or 9 of them. And then go back the generation before that, and you had Keane, and you had a different version of Keane the next day, and then you had Roy Keane as well, and everyone else around him. That's lacking now. There are signs that Harry Maguire can be a leader. There's some very other determined players there. But again, it's Manchester United standards, not unreasonably, are very, very high.
Yeah, and so say, and we're into if, buts and maybes here, but it's interesting to get a sense from you of where the Glazers are and where Woodward is. And we saw that, nobody knows if it's true or not. I don't know if you're an official lip reader, the Phil Jones-Woodward thing, but that's been doing the rounds. If the slump continues, like on the one hand, increasingly the club hierarchy could become nervous about Solskjaer's lightweight CV, and obviously there would be the slump, versus really, I think probably an awareness even amongst United fans that they just don't want to chop and change another manager, that it upsets everything. You have to get used to a whole new ideology, and that would be reflected in transfers, and then you've got to give that more time. Allied to his legendary status, which must count for something. It's hard, you weigh up those two contrasting things, and it's hard to know how safe this guy will be if things were to career really badly over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 games.
They're both compelling arguments weighted against each other. I do think United have made the bed. They've got to line it now. I don't recall any complaints on the 7th of March when he was given the job permanently. He's got to be given time to do the job now. There's going to be bumps along the way. He said that. We've seen it already. We knew there were going to be bumps along the way. And if the team's going to finish 4th, they're probably going to lose 10 games in a season. Well, they've lost 2 already. Problem is if the team's finishing 9th or 10th, that's another different dynamic on it again if they're not playing European football next year. And I believe for this year, the Europa League is actually good for the progress of younger players who maybe wouldn't have played in the Champions League. Woodward is not popular. He's overseen this. He's been the leading executive at the club. There's a scepticism about him. When he talks of bringing in a sporting director, and that doesn't happen, that makes fans even more mistrustful. The Glazers have never been loved. It's a takeover which should never have been allowed to happen. However, the club have still spent a huge amount of money in the last 6 years with them in charge. Yeah, this isn't the era of no value in the market as Manchester United pull out of paying 30 million for Karim Benzema. They've squandered money. They've wasted money. And most managers want money. Well, they've had it at Manchester United. You'll never find love from me for the Glazers. I don't think United need to be owned by anybody like Barcelona or Madrid. They're big enough. They don't need to be a soft power tool for a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
They're big enough as they are and hugely profitable. But when results go against the team, then the discontent rises among supporters, and it does so in many different ways because the fans are just frustrated.
Yeah.
It's deep frustration, and you'll get it today, Monday, and it'll subside a bit Tuesday, Wednesday. Beat Rochdale, someone scores a hat-trick, it'll lift 10% again, and this is a cycle, and it's a pretty negative cycle. It's not Manchester United.
No, it's true. And maybe just a last point to finish on. And you've made the point before that when you go to Old Trafford, and we did see this under Mourinho and under Van Gaal. I guess Moyes wasn't there long enough really to see it. And now Solskjaer is. Old Trafford's a fairly patient place. You know, you could argue these would be a fairly spoiled bunch who would be hopping out of their seats if they're not winning the league at least once every other year. But they've been very patient with each manager, in fairness, in the ground, whatever about the broader world of social media and fan TV and all that stuff. One of the things which I suspect really got them on side when Solskjaer took over was, you remember those first few weeks he talked about players running beyond the ball, let's at least score goals, let's play quote unquote the Man United way, whether that's a real thing or not. I happen to think there is something in it. And this had been after the fairly dull Jose Mourinho and Van Gaal eras. And I think there was a sense, almost similar to what's going on at Stamford Bridge, of, well, okay, look, we are not going to be title contenders anytime soon, but God, let's get back to being a bit fun to watch and scoring some goals and having a threat. And actually, gotta be honest, I wouldn't say many neutrals are looking forward to watching United just now. Even that initial selling point that Solskjaer brought seems to have evaporated.
Yeah, that's all true. And the mood is definitely different at games to online. It's totally different. The fans are supportive, they're patient, maybe to a fault, in that they'll back the person who they can see in real life 50 or 100 metres away from them. And Ole Gunnar will benefit more from that than most because of his legendary status at the club. But the fans are not stupid either. They want to be entertained. They work hard to pay for the season tickets. They're paying between £500 and £1,000, which these days is 500 and €1,000 to watch Manchester United. And if it's dull, it's dull. That's what did for Van Gaal. That's what did for Mourinho. The fans will not accept a defensive formation at home against Crystal Palace. And there are all these stats when Van Gaal was there of people who say, I sit in the scoreboard end, I've not seen a goal at my end for 7 months. Just stuff it was funny.
Yeah.
And if the football's not entertaining, then the discontent will start to build. There's so many factors you can put into whether a manager stays popular or not.
Yeah.
And there could be little things like today they're gonna look at bringing safe standing in. That's great. If the women's team are winning, that's great as well. But the results of the first team overshadow everything. If the team are playing well and they're losing, or they've drawn at West Ham yesterday, people will accept that. They're not expecting a league title this year.
Yeah.
And some fans don't help as well, because some of them, whether they like it or not, were only attracted to the team that were winning. And football teams do not always win. No team in history has always won. And this is the uncomfortable truth. Now is that the team has stopped winning. But in the 80s, when I started going to games, it wasn't a winning team. It wasn't a team that went close to winning the league.
Sure.
But I supported them.
Yeah. We'll watch it develop over the next couple of weeks and months. Andy Mitten, editor of United We Stand and other publications as well. Thanks very much, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Andy Mitten there speaking to us just a short time ago. While we were speaking to Andy, it's gone full-time in Oriel Park. Dundalk have beaten Shamrock Rovers by 3-2. They are League of Ireland champions for the 5th time in 6 years, and Vinnie Perth was celebrating, as you might imagine, and well-deserved too. So Dundalk have beaten Shamrock Rovers 3-2. They've won the league. We'll be talking about that before we go at 10 o'clock as well. In the meantime, Dermot Corrigan is waiting patiently to tell us about strife at Barcelona.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
This week on News Talk, we've got loads of e-scooters to give away. All you have to do is tune into News Talk Breakfast from 7 a.m. and The Hard Shoulder from 4 p.m. Listen out for the cue to text and you could win a Segway 9bot ES2 kick scooter and a Live All Smart helmet. All this week on News Talk Breakfast and The Hard Shoulder, thanks to AppliancesDelivered.ie, Ireland's online home for appliances, smart technology and much more. Only on News Talk.
When you run your own business, sometimes a heavy workload can weigh you down.
That white, please.
But Virgin Media Business offer Voom products that seamlessly work on their own. Meaning you can focus on your product, knowing we'll look after the rest. Virgin Media Business makes light work of everything. See virginmedia.ie/business for details. Terms and conditions apply.
International football is more exciting than ever.
Remember that first time on the terraces, where it all began. The heroes, the villains, the highs, the lows. All the while, you were learning. Now use that knowledge on Football Index. Join tens of thousands of fans trading the world's top players. Football Index. The game changed. App available. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. Gamble responsibly.
When pain attempts to ruin our plans, we'll do anything to stop it.
And just relax your shoulder.
Ow! But when pain persists, ask your pharmacist about fast-acting Sulpa Extra Soluble tablets. Because it's soluble, it gets to work 2 times faster than paracetamol tablets, based on absorption data. Sulpa Extra Soluble tablets. Don't let pain hold you back. Sulpa Extra Soluble tablets contain paracetamol and caffeine for the treatment of mild to moderate pain. Always read the leaflet.
Let's be honest, no one likes doing the laundry. You don't wake up going, oh, I can't wait to put a wash on. Or maybe you do, and that's your thing, God love you. Either way, those school uniforms aren't going to wash themselves. So this week at Appliances Delivered, we're knocking 10% off all laundry appliances over $4.99, including washing machines, tumble dryers and washer dryers, with nationwide delivery and flexible payment options. Just use code LAUNDRY10 at the checkout on AppliancesDelivered.ie.
Fly with Cathay Pacific from Dublin Airport to over 70 destinations across Asia and Australia and move beyond the familiar. State-of-the-art cabins, world-class entertainment and award-winning service, making sure you arrive ready to make the most of whatever lies ahead. Whether it's the stunning coastline of Sydney, the secluded waterfalls of Bali, or the bustling markets of Ho Chi Minh City. Book now at cathaypacific.com. Cathay Pacific. Move beyond.
Wherever you are in life, Citizens Information can help you. Whether it's accessing child benefits or finding out about housing and rent options. I'm here about the room. Getting the right employment supports or benefits.
We're going to have to reduce your errors.
Or knowing your pension entitlements.
10, 20, 40. Citizens Information can give you all the information you need. Call 07610 4000. Visit citizensinformation.ie or drop into your local Citizens Information Centre. Call costs depend on operator bundles funded and supported by the Citizens Information Board.
Have a great evening with itsforwomen.ie. Don't live your life on hold. Get a quote now at itsforwomen.ie and see why we're trusted by over 130,000 women in Ireland.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now, welcome back. So we're checking in on all things La Liga. Dermot Corrigan is standing by. Hi, Dermot.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Very well. Thanks for joining us. So Madrid, after their rather embarrassing evening in Paris, were winners in Seville at the weekend. They beat them 1-0. Benzema with the goal, which just eased the doom and gloom surrounding Zinedine Zidane. It means they are, along with Athletic Bilbao, top of the heap in La Liga on 11 points after 5 games. Meanwhile, away to Granada, Barcelona lost 2-0. So after 5 games, Barcelona are in 8th. They have just 7 points. Things must be getting a bit sticky for Valverde under pressure now, Barcelona. They play Villarreal tomorrow. How much pressure is he under? What's going on here? You know, 7 points in 5 games is fairly miserable.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's the worst record for Barca at this stage of the season since La Liga moved to 3 points for a win back in 1994. So something's definitely gone wrong. And away from home, they've been awful. They've only picked up 1 point from their 3 games. And Valverde is getting most of the stick. He's in a difficult position because if you remember back to the end of last season, they had that disaster at Anfield in the Champions League. Then they lost the Copa del Rey final. And a lot of people thought that Valverde, his time was up. the board backed him. They decided they couldn't get anybody better. But still, there's a lot of people who think, that he lost a lot of his power at that stage, a lot of his status, and the way that they have started the season, he's already coming under pressure, and people are wondering how long he's going to last, really.
What are we seeing on the pitch?
It's just a bit of a mess, really. Barca have always been... Well, the first thing to say is that Lionel Messi's been injured for the start of the season. So when it comes to Barca, when Messi's out, then they're a different team completely. But without him, like at the weekend at Granada, there's the 5th different midfield three in their 5 games so far. He switched it all up completely. Busquets was back on the bench. De Jong, the new signing, who was pretty good, he's played in all 3 of the midfield positions. He seemed to play on the wing in one game as well. And it's like Valverde, he's not sure of... He's got a good few new players in the team. He had injuries with Messi was out, Suarez was out for a while, and he just hasn't been able to get them to click at all away from home.
Messi's only played 45 minutes. Suarez has played 130 minutes. He's managed 2 goals. Griezmann has played every game and scored in 1 game. So yeah, it's not quite happening for him either. Is there any great salvaging of this in the short term beyond just Messi getting back and doing what Messi does?
That's going to be the main thing. Is everybody's going to look to Messi to presumably he's going to start now tomorrow night against Villarreal. But Suarez and Griezmann, like the goals that they scored, they both scored some really good goals in the home games where Barca were brilliant. They beat Valencia 5-2, they beat Betis 5-2 as well, I think, scoring lots of goals. And if you set them up for chances, then they're going to take them because they're good players. But the way that the team is set up at the moment, Suarez is, he's a bit static up front. The midfielder not linking with him. Griezmann doesn't seem to know where he's supposed to be playing. And then, Messi has to come in. Maybe that's going to shake things up again. But you don't get a feeling that Valverde knows, where to put all these new players that he has and the different squad options that he has. You don't get a feeling he knows how to fit them together yet.
The word is that one of the things in Valverde's favour is that he still has Messi on side.
They do seem to get on well, and they're similar enough characters in a way. You could say that both of them are fairly low profile type guys. They're not kind of bombastic, or they're not people to go and give great quotes to the media or to play along with the fame part of the game. You'd wonder though, because Messi gave this interview to Catalan paper Sport a couple of weeks ago where he was very critical of the direction that if you read between the lines of it, he was very critical of the direction that the club are taking over the last while, the competitive nature of the squad. That might have been more a dig at the president of the club, the board and the players, the transfer policy than it was at Valverde. Messi seems to still respect him, but what Messi wants more than anything is to win the Champions League again. And if it doesn't look like that's going to happen with Valverde, then Valverde's in big trouble.
Yeah. So what's the feeling over there? Is he under immediate pressure, or is it a wait-and-see job, or do we quite know?
Barca haven't sacked a manager mid-season since Louis van Gaal back in 2002-03. I think they don't. It's not like Real Madrid where if it's not working, we'll just throw him out and try another guy instead. They tend to try and stick with the coach that they have. But Bartomeu is going to come under pressure. Back in 2015, they had a similar kind of crisis mid-season where results weren't going well. At that stage, they sacked the sporting director, Zubi Zareta, and then went on to win the treble at the end of that season. It's not quite, a chicken and egg type of a situation, but it seemed to work for them at the time to have a bit of everybody shouting at each other, sort it out, bring somebody else in, and it worked. The problem is there's nobody obvious to come in and take over from Valverde at this point, and you wouldn't really trust the Barca board to make the right decision if they did start to come call for somebody from left field to come in.
The Premier League is such at the moment that Liverpool's 5-point lead feels very significant even this early in the season. I presume that's not quite the case to the same extent in La Liga. They're in 8th, they're on 7 points, so they're still only 4 points behind Madrid and Bilbao, which is a very surmountable lead, I would think, in the context of those two teams.
Yeah, La Liga in general, the standard hasn't been great, or it's been very even so far this season. None of the bigger teams have really impressed that much. Madrid obviously had their own problems and they've been dropping points. So Barca are not in that bad a position really. The Clásico is coming up at the end of October. Now, if they come to the Clásico, they beat Madrid, they go ahead of them in La Liga, suddenly it opens up and everything is rosy again. Were they to stay 4 points behind Madrid, then lose the Clásico at home to not a vintage Madrid team, then you could really see the knife starting to come out for Valverde.
Yeah. As for Zidane, he went to Seville, they won 1-0. Benzema scored the goal, which somewhat eases the embarrassment of the 3-0 defeat midweek. I didn't see that PSG game. Obviously, I saw the scoreline, which was pretty eye-catching. So where are they at the moment under Zidane?
Yeah, they were woeful against Paris Saint-Germain, and I think that's the more that's the game to look for as an indicator of how they're going to go this season, because they just, the players didn't seem to know what they were doing. They didn't seem to have a good tactical plan for the game. They were missing a couple of people from injury, and Ramos was suspended at the back. But just generally, they seemed to be out-thought and outrun. Paris Saint-Germain ran a lot further in that game and looked just a more motivated team for it. They got a reaction. Zidane, he called for intensity. He's not one for super tactical plans, Zidane, but his mantra that he says all the time is that if we work as hard as the opposition team, then we'll have the better players, the more quality, and we'll win. And that's more or less what happened. It wasn't a great game. It wasn't flowing football or anything at the weekend, but Madrid, they got stuck in. Casemiro was maybe their best player, just kicking people or covering ground in the middle of the pitch. They got a good goal, a header from Benzema, and Sevilla weren't great, and it was enough to win.
Eden Hazard injured his hamstring early on in the season, so this was his first 90 minutes really since his return?
Yeah, it's not been great for him. I was just writing about that earlier on. Arrived at Madrid, seemed to be overweight, that was denied, but it looked he wasn't in the best of shape when he showed up for pre-season. Then he got injured, one of the many Madrid players to pick up a muscle injury in pre-season, and it was difficult. It was his first start away at Paris, and you wouldn't say that was his fault. Zidane's going to really trust him. Zidane really wants him. He has that place on the left wing lined up, but now he has to do it. He's got the Saturday is the derby against Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitano. That'd be a big game for Hazard to make a statement in, maybe to score his first goal or to do something and get people on his side, because it was a lot of money for him, and people are antsy at the Bernabeu. The mood still isn't great. They still haven't got over last season, and as the big money signing from the summer, there's pressure on him to start to deliver.
So a bit miserable all round. Is there much head scratching and talk of why, and I know these things are cyclical, but is there any obvious reason given as to why things in Spain have just gone a little bit off kilter in a general way? Like the Premier League seems to be as good as it's ever been, and the strength and depth is phenomenal, and you're watching these mid-table teams put together brilliant football. It seems Spain is just taking a turn in the opposite direction over the last season or two.
Yeah, I go along to you. I would have often defended La Liga, the strength and depth in La Liga, and the quality that teams had, mid-table teams had, compared to the Premier League, even up to a couple of years ago. But yeah, last season, Liverpool and Tottenham coming here for the Champions League final that was in Madrid, taking over the city was a blow, and people would see Liverpool and City maybe as the two favourites for the Champions League again this year. That Madrid are, they're in transition for sure. Barca are so reliant on Messi, and even Atletico, they don't. They have a new team as well. So, as I said before, that everybody seems to be able to beat everybody in La Liga this season, which isn't something that you would have said that often before. And there is maybe a general levelling of the talent compared to Premier League, where all of the money that they have, and they're finally spending it a bit more intelligently, maybe, and taking over from Spain as the top league.
What about Bilbao, Dermot? I presume they're not there for the long haul.
No, probably not. They are doing very well. They beat Barca on the opening day of the season with a great late goal. It's what happens with Athletic, because they can't sign any players, or they don't sign non-Basque players. They have a fairly settled squad. The coach came in at the midway through last season as a former Athletic player, Garitano, a really intense, methodical type of a guy. They don't play great football, but they're really well organised. They're really hard to beat, and they've got momentum at the minute. So they could easily take fourth place. Athletic finished fourth maybe 5-6 years ago, got fourth and into the Champions League, and wouldn't be beyond them this season to make it again.
I saw Gareth Bale had a brilliant goal ruled out due to offside. So is he back getting game time, 90 minutes territory? Where is the relationship with him and Zidane at the moment?
They're kind of condemned to understand each other, I think. I wouldn't say they've had long heart-to-heart conversations behind the scenes. I don't know really how much they talk at all, or if there's much conversation that goes on. But again, with the injuries that there has been, and with the awful transfer window that Madrid had last year, then Bale is back in the team, and he appeared to be trying to prove a point in his first couple of games. Scored a really good goal at Villarreal as well, and that goal against Paris Saint-Germain would have been brilliant. The debate here over whether with his celebration, because he looked really cheesed off as he turned around after scoring the goal and was nearly knocking the players away. Whether that was that he knew he'd handballed it and that the VAR was going to rule it off, and he was thinking would have been great, but it didn't happen, or if he was making a statement by scoring a great goal and then refusing to celebrate it, we don't know. But he's in the team. He's playing pretty well. He's running harder than he had maybe previously, but I don't think it's completely rosy. And again, next summer, his future will be up for grabs again for sure next summer.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like you're getting a great feeling about Zidane's return here, or that this thing is working out perfectly. I mean, it seems like he's as liable, I would suspect, to walk away as Madrid might be to sack him if things don't go well.
I was talking to somebody at the weekend who has a pretty good handle on things at the very highest levels up in the Bernabeu, and his feeling on it was that Zidane can't. He's super angry with how things have gone since he came back. He was promised the ability to totally shake up the squad, to bring in Pogba, to get rid of Bale, to build a new team, a new project. That just hasn't happened at all. He's not happy with Florentino Perez, the manager, or the president, but he knows that he just can't resign again. Even on a practical level, he lives here in Madrid. His son is in the youth system in the club. His wife is Spanish. He's settled here in Spain, and to walk away from Madrid twice in just over 12 months will be crazy. How long he'll last if he keeps kind of putting it up to Florentino or challenging him publicly, if he was to do that, we don't know. Again, they've got this big game at Atletico Madrid at the weekend. They've got the Clásico obviously as well at the end of October. So it's either, as we've seen over the last couple of days at Madrid, it's either they're in crisis or they're flying, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, for sure. I didn't realise he was having a pop at Perez publicly. In his very kind of understated way, but he's asked a lot now about are you happy with the squad? Are you happy with the transfers over the summer? And his Spanish is it's about the same as mine, I guess. He's not 100% a native speaker, so he keeps things short and curt, and he's like, well, it is what it is. I love my players. We have to deal with the situation the best we can, stuff like that, as opposed to saying, it's brilliant. What an amazing summer we had. What brilliant signings we've made. He's more short about it, and that's basically him saying that he's not so happy with it, even though if he doesn't come out and say it 100% or 100% clearly. I mean, it's logical really, because there was no way he came back to Madrid for this level of rebuild. Who's going to be at their clubs longer, Valverde or Zidane? I'll go Valverde. Really? That he would make it to. Valverde's more likely to make it to the end of the season, I think. If things really go bad, because Barcelona, as I was saying, they don't have that culture of trying for a quick fix and bringing somebody else in again. There's lots of other coaches like Xavi, people like that, who we just have to wait another couple of years before they'll take over. Whereas Madrid, they could put in Raúl, could just step up tomorrow if needed, and that might be more likely to happen. Yeah. Or Mourinho, who just to say, popping up on Spanish TV here, saying, it'd be disrespectful to talk about Zidane, he's doing a great job, he's a fellow professional, all that type of stuff, while at the same time just letting it be known that he's available and that he had a great time. He loved Madrid, he loved the Bernabeu, all that type of stuff. Okay, because he's been on Sky Sports obviously doing punditry, so is he popping up being interviewed on the Spanish TV football shows over there, yeah? Yeah, he was here in Madrid last week at a sponsors event, La Liga. I hadn't seen him around here for 3 or 4 years, so it was up to him whether he wanted to do it or not, and decided to come and talk here, and was very open. Would have made a lot of enemies when he was here before. It wasn't the way he left. Very bitter. Especially the mood in the press room used to be awful, really very antagonistic. But he was all smiles, he was all jokes, all talking about how much he loved the life here in Spain. So, he says that he's no intention of taking anybody's job, but obviously he'd like a new challenge. Okay, Dermot Corrigan, thanks so much, Dermot. Appreciate it. Cheers, Joe. Cheers. Short break. Back in a sec.
Off the ball on News Talk.
If you've been calling your knees or hips the good one and the bad one, and not the left and the right, then it might be time to talk to your GP or physio about a referral to a Bon Secours Hospital orthopaedic unit. We are Ireland's largest private hospital group, and with an expert team in place to treat a wide range of orthopaedic conditions, you're guaranteed a speedy appointment and a procedure within weeks if needed. So why wait? For more information or to find your nearest Bon Secours hospital, visit bonsecours.ie. Bon Secours. Advanced medicine, exceptional care.
Molly, the Museum of Literature Ireland, is a new home for the world's greatest storytellers. Discover Ireland's rich literary heritage here in the original home of UCD, the beautiful Newman House on Dublin's St Stephen's Green. Experience immersive exhibitions, view treasures from our partners, the National Library of Ireland, or relax amid the birdsong in our tranquil gardens and cafe. Book your visit at molly.ie.
Since 1927, ESB has been working towards a brighter future for all. Today, that means finding new ways to use clean electricity in our everyday lives. And because electric vehicles are 3 times more efficient and improve the quality of the air we breathe, it's definitely worth thinking about. Be part of a brighter future. Find out more at esb.ie.
Fly with Cathay Pacific from Dublin Airport to over 70 destinations across Asia and Australia and move beyond the familiar. State-of-the-art cabins, world-class entertainment and award-winning service, making sure you arrive ready to make the most of whatever lies ahead. Whether it's the stunning coastline of Sydney, the secluded waterfalls of Bali, or the bustling markets of Ho Chi Minh City. Book now at cathaypacific.com. Cathay Pacific. Move beyond.
Attention! All vehicles registered in 2010 or before, it is now a requirement to have your vehicle NCT'd annually. The main reason for failure in the NCT is defective tyres. Tyres in poor condition are the main reason for an increase in the number of vehicles receiving a failed dangerous result, which means the vehicle should not be driven on public roads. Driving a vehicle without a valid NCT will result in a fixed charge offence and 3 to 5 penalty points if as a result of a court conviction. For more information or to make a booking, log on to ncts.ie. The NCT for safer, cleaner motoring.
You told us you don't like cider that's too sweet. And you also told us you don't like cider that's too dry. Well, there's great news for you, because we don't make our delicious Appleman cider either of those things. So now all we have to do is ask you to try it. Simple. Here we go. Order an Appleman cider. Or making this ad was a complete waste of time. Appleman's, the joy in simple. Always drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Well, frankly, I've been lonely all evening, so Ronan Mullen and Enda Call have been dragged into studio. How you doing?
Not bad, Joe.
It's just like we're sitting outside in the office.
I know. This is the dynasty, Joe.
There's something off one of your microphones.
There's which?
Yeah, there's something really off with microphones. David, something going on. What do we do? Quick.
Is it running?
Don't know. Ronan's on 2. We're okay? No, there's something way off there. JP, something way off.
He's gone amazingly well, Joe, I must say. What a start.
There's something off. We're going to plough on, but there's something still off. I'll leave it with you, JP. So talk to us. The reason we brought you in.
Off, Joe.
Oh, here we go. That's a segue.
The Dundalk dynasty is alive and kicking, and there was a bit of doubt at the start of the season, not from me, but from others in this parish, and not going to name any names. Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't Enda. But someone on the show did say that Shamrock Rovers had this title wrapped up after one quarter of the season, and hasn't panned out that way.
Johnny Ward said it.
Johnny Ward did say that. And there was a montage made. We're not going to do him the disservice of playing that montage, but I think from that point, Dundalk have really kicked on. And as I said, there was a bit of doubt. Other teams recruited well in the off-season, but what's really borne out is Dundalk squad. While the first team mightn't hit the heights that the peak Stephen Kenny team did, the squad is one of the best ever assembled in the League of Ireland, because there's players in that can't even make the 18 that would get in most teams, you know. So it really shone through, and the star quality tonight, like Michael Duffy, exceptional.
Michael Duffy's goal was a beautiful thing.
It was.
Yeah.
He's probably their player of the year as well, and arguably the league's player of the year.
Okay.
That's his 13th goal for Dundalk this year, and he's been playing mostly on the left wing, and he's also been chipping in with assists all year round. Like he's an exceptional talent, especially by League of Ireland standards, and he's one of those players that came through that Derry team as well. Patrick McElhinney's another, and there's another couple of players on that pitch that came through the Derry Academy as well, or came through the doors of Derry at one point or another. So it really shows that, you know, a lot of the talent that, while Dundalk do have this massive squad of great individual players, there have been players that have been part of the League of Ireland for a long time now. They're not just players that they brought in from elsewhere.
Vinnie Perth, I guess, gets a bit of credit, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's some indication for him. Like he's an emotionally kind of guy, and you can see it means a lot to him. As much as managers like to pretend they don't take outside factors, like it's only human. And like, how do you follow Stephen Kenny? It's one of the most difficult jobs in recent times in this country. Anyway, given the success that he had, and Dundalk are on course for a treble. They've 2/3 of that done now, and what a statement that would be from Vinnie Perth. And like, he's been with the club so long in one role or another, and he's finally got the top job, and he's really, have to say, delivered. Well, he's been thrown into it as well, because he wasn't expecting Stephen Kennedy to step away more than anybody else was. I think he found out at one of the players' weddings. Stephen O'Donnell was getting married, and he found out that Stephen Kennedy was stepping down, and that was basically him coming into the job. And there was also a takeover at the start of the year. Like, there was a lot going on for him to actually come in and steady the ship as an experienced manager. Like, he never actually was the main man, and then he had to come in and replace a manager who has unprecedented success with a club. And you do have to give Vinnie credit, but you also have to give John Gill credit as well for coming in and helping him out. Vinnie Perth wouldn't be there without John Gill coming in and being an assistant there, or being the head coach, as he actually has the title. So like, John Gill's an experienced man, been around the League of Ireland for years now, and he deserves a bit of credit in this as well. Some link to Dundalk past and present John Gill, because he was the manager in the first division when, if you had told me back then that we'd be putting together this sort of run of like domestic success.
I noticed you said we there. And you did tweet earlier on, and we have the tweet. Jump up and down if you love the town, said Ronan Mullen. It's a notorious song, sung in the Shed. But were you a member of the Shed? Absolutely. I actually have a kind of funny story about the Shed. End of call funny stories. Do we have time for one of these stories? It's a high bar. When you say funny, it shows you what kind of place the Shed is. Like, okay. Oriel Park's one of these grounds, you know what you're getting when you go to Oriel Park, especially if you're in the away end. What are you getting? The away end is possibly the worst away end in professional football. It's tiny. It's a little box in the corner of the ground, but the Shed. The Shed gets its name because it is a shed essentially, but the commentating box is on the top of it. Yeah. And I used to be a runner at Air Sport, and they were doing commentary of a game. I was bringing Brian Kerr up and down teas and coffees all night. Yeah. And at one stage, a massive guy in the middle of the Shed turns to me and goes, "Listen, this is our shed. You stay out of it." That's the town for you. That's it. Welcoming. So listen, well done Dundalk. They've been deserving winners. I presume they've won with 3-4 games to go. So we're going to talk. We'll aim to get Vinnie Perth on the show tomorrow, or one of the players, and we'll do the league title win justice tomorrow. Fellas, thanks so much. One of your microphones was a disgrace, but apart from that, it was an excellent little cameo, I thought, from Enda Call and Ronan Mullen, with an Enda Call funny story thrown in. Yeah. OTB AM is back tomorrow 7:30. You can get it on OTB Sports Radio on the Go Loud app. They'll have the very latest from Owen Sheehan in Japan, who's been out talking to fans. You should watch that on YouTube if you haven't seen it already. And then Kevin Kilban will be in studio tomorrow. Tom Dunn's next. Good luck.
Do you want to say hi to the Air Sport viewers there at home?
No. Give me traditional sugar-coated jam donuts any day of the week. Taxi man from the airport, Drumcondra, pull in, bosh, straight into the ton. There's a selection of jam donuts and, the big French fancy, the typical standard French. I know what you're saying, I'm talking gigantic portions.
You're happy with your pizza?
Yeah. So, was that chilli, Kev?
There's a bit of chilli on your pizza, Kenny.
Apart from the chilli,
Kenny doesn't like it too spicy.
The environment, the ambiance is not right. We've got to get back up the Gibneys again.
Where is Billericay?
If you get to Billericay High Street, do it right, and you're literally there. I'm going to throw in the Serengeti, and I don't know exactly where I was, possibly in that bit. Heard of Wildebeest, yeah. So as I'm driving, suddenly my seat is reclining backwards. Gaz is reclining the seat, like pinning me back, pulling me back slowly, almost like in a vertical position, staring up the sunroof at the stars.
This is an all-time low.
All-time low. Had to put the brakes on, throw him out of the car. It was ridiculous. And he can't keep humiliating Kevin like this in the studio.
Just a little. Come on, there's
no need to argue anymore. That's a great song. That's a great album.
What secondary school did Brian attend?
Oh, private.
They didn't ship you out today. They didn't ship you to the south side for a better education. Me and you are finished. If you jumped on a bus and went down the coast road and out to the south of Dublin for education.
Oh, come on.
I don't know. I'll just go with Clontarf. Yeah. This is awful stuff. This is desperate. Turn this thing off.
Don't miss a thing. Update the News Talk app now in the App Store or Google Play Store.
ABC's 1, 2, 3's Do Re Mi's. We're quick to teach our children the essential tools they need for day-to-day life. But when do we talk to them about money?